We think Learning Partners has a lot of lessons. When I came to the position of chancellor, I tried to figure out what was the ways that I learned best as a new principal. And the ways I learned best is by learning from more experienced principals. So one of the things we did in New York City, we looked for outstanding principals who had done something good in one specific area. So it could be the arts, it could be science, it could be whatever it is that you think you're really an expert in, and asked them if they would be willing to share in a triad model with two other schools, particularly schools that had new principals. Some of the practices that they had in their schools, particularly how they started their schools, what did they do for professional development with their teachers so that schools would learn to visit each other. What was very important to us is that we have a 3-tier effort for leadership. So each of these principals had to be willing to also make one of their assistant principals the leadership of this program so that they could possibly become the next principal, and they had to pick at least 1 or 2 teachers in their buildings who would be the lead teachers. And the idea was, as they worked with the other 2 schools, because there were 3 partners, that they would visit each other, and they would come and they would host parents. And they would be very clear that the host schools could ask any question they want. They would give them access to their budgets and to all their thinking, but that also they would problem solve, and that they would meet 2 to 3 times a year above and beyond their school visits to talk about how did I get started, what did I do. What we found that it was so productive that many more of those assistant principals started being the ones who actually went out to visit, so that as we saw that, we created a pipeline for the assistant principals in these schools to now become the next level of principals. One of the things we put into both the principal contract and the teacher contract is something called model principal, model teacher. And we were very clear about the word model. Model is not that you're perfect, not that your reading scores are wonderful, but what you're doing could be modeled for other people, and you were willing to go out of your way to actually teach people how to do things. And we put extra money in the contract. It fluctuates how much it is, but it's at least a minimum of $15,000 for each of those particular positions. And we put a level of money aside to be able to have this particular position grow. Many principals now say they would do it without money.